Hello to you and yours, hoping you're having a great time wherever you may be. This is Dennis Rimmer here, the host of Talking Books and Stuff, and we need your help. We're looking for pledges. We're looking for people to be our patrons. We're looking for a little bit of cash here and there, maybe $5 a month or more if you can afford it, but $5 a month would keep us on the air. And we need you, if possible, to go to patreon.com/talkingbooksandstuff1 and pledge your support. I mean, $5 a month, that's what? 1 cup of coffee, maybe 2 cups, a fast food hamburger or 2, things like that, a couple of newspapers, 1 magazine. So if you can spare $5 a month, maybe a bit more, please help us out. That's patreon.com/talkingbooksandstuff1. And of course, the 1 is the number 1, the numeral, not the word spelled out. Okay, that's patreon.com/talkingbooksandstuff1. If you can pledge your support to help us keep our podcasts coming. We have lots of great guests lined up, lots more to come. So please stay with us. Thank you. And as Diane says, may all the good news be yours.
Hi, welcome to Talking Books and Stuff, the program that talks all about books and writing and stuff. Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Thank you once again for joining us here on Talking Books. That's Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. And just before we begin chatting with Jason Schoonover in his lovely lair in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which he uses as a home base for his worldwide travels, I want to thank the people who have supported us. Cheryl, Maddie, Sage, Sheila, and Richard have all chipped in a little bit to keep us on the air and rolling. And if you'd like to help, you can always send me an email. I have a new email address. It's dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Simple as that. Dennis@talkingbooks.tk. So, with us today, Jason Schoonover. Like I said, we're in his lovely abode. He just poured me a great cup of coffee in a mug from a dinosaur guy. Well, it's not a dinosaur, but it's a mug from a guy who looks after dinosaurs or looks for them or something. Jason's with us. Jason, we've talked a little bit in the past, but let me start off with the usual question of your morning routine. Beverage, newspaper, what do you do?
I have a shower. And by the way, good morning, Dennis, and good morning, everybody. I have a shower, and I come up in my bathrobe, and I have 3 cups of coffee, and I read the newspaper, and that's my favorite time of the day, and it's mine.
It's yours, and it's 3 cups, not 2, not 4, but 3.
Can I tell you why I drink coffee?
Sure. Go ahead.
I never used to drink coffee. I didn't start until my 30s. I was writing my first book. You know how sometimes you're writing and you're looking for a word, and you know it's out there. You know that word exists, but it's in the fog. And then I'd have a cup of coffee, and the fog would magically disappear. So I discovered coffee. I've tried a lot of nootropics or nootropics, as they call them, these smart drugs. The only one that works for me is coffee.
There you go. Keep that in mind, kids. If you want to be a writer like Jason, you gotta drink your coffee. Jason Schoonover, you grew up in the province of Saskatchewan, from what we've been told, in a small town, Carrot River. How did that, do you think, shape the rest of your life?
Well, a couple of ways come to mind. One, Carrot River is right on the edge of the bush. Prairie and bush was right on the line. So I spent all my spare time in the bush. I'm very bush savvy. I do a lot of canoeing. I lead a lot of canoe trips up to 18 and 20 people brigades. Cost sharing. I don't charge for them. The life of adventure and outdoors was really important to me. It was in my blood, in my DNA, you might say. But I also had a remarkable teacher in grade 7 and 8 who was a published playwright. And he was brilliant. He had his MA, he was from England, his name was Jim Penman. And he he taught me, he gave me the whole toolkit in those 2 years to be a writer. He was such a good teacher in English with compositions. And when I finished grade 8 after 2 years, I felt confident. I had all the tools to be a writer.
Grade 8, best 3 years of my life. So, was that a one-room school almost?
No. Carrot River was about 900 population at the time, so the school is, I don't know, 300 kids or something like that. There was in grade 7, all the classes had an A class and a B class, so that's the size of them.
Okay, and the writing, when did that career choice or that interest or hobby or vocation, when did that spark?
Well, it really in grade 7 when I was 12. Like Carrot River was a lumber town. That's all that bush had a lot of lumbering. It was a tough town. It was a mean town, and I was a skinny little kid, and I used to get picked on a lot. And I hated school I hated all the subjects except English and history. And lost my train of thought here.
Sparking your interest writing, yeah. Grade 11, no, so grade 7.
So that teacher, Jim Penman, gave us an exercise to do. Go home and write a composition, whatever you want, as if you're writing a story. So I went home. Actually, what he probably did is he gave us maybe 5 words, and he said, use those 5 words and make a story out of them. Now I liked that idea. Mm-hmm. So I went home, wrote a story, and I got into this writer's bubble, which all writers feel. And what was so great about it is it got me away from how mean and how much I hated my 12-year-old wife in Carrot River was being bullied so much. This bubble, I felt warm and fuzzy, and I could create the world that I wanted, and I felt no limits to my imagination. And to my surprise, I turned out to be the best writer in the class. I was always the kid who went up to the front of the class and read his composition, and the kids loved it. I became quite noted for that. So at the age of 12, I decided, wow, I want to be a writer. I want to write a novel when I'm older and bigger.
And any chance to remember those 5 words?
Gosh, no. One of them was taken from that poem about the walrus and the carpenter. And there were some words out of that one.
Okay, well, I don't know it either, so that's okay. Back to writing in your early days in Carrot River, writing, reading, talking with Jason Schoonover, by the way, here on Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. Look us up at www.talkingbooks.tk, or, of course, email me, dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Reading. How'd reading enter that? What kind of books did you like as a kid?
I've got in front of us right now the first book I ever read. It was a gift from our grade 1 teacher, and the book was called The Coral Island by Ballantyne, R.M. Ballantyne, and guess what? It was an adventure book. And that's what I write. I write exclusively adventure, both fiction and nonfiction.
And Jason writes books and fiction and nonfiction. But before you got your first, let's say, published work, you were involved in radio, I understand, here in Saskatchewan. Now, how did working in radio, what was the trigger that led that into a career, I'll call it, as a writer?
Well, when I took over your job at CFQC, which was a promotion manager job, which was a producer's job as well, Dennis Fisher was our boss. Dennis is my mentor. And he saw that I had writing ability from my previous term at CFQC when I was music director. And he gave me an opportunity to write in so many different areas that it expanded my confidence and ability to write documentaries and stage shows and just everything. When I left CFQC after 3 years, 3 months, and 3 weeks in that position, I felt confident, again, that I'd basically got a PhD in the media. And so from there, I went to traveling around the world, 78, and I started to write travel stories. First for the Star Phoenix here in Saskatoon, then for most of the Canadian newspapers and several American ones, like the Boston Globe and the Chicago Tribune, I think it is, and San Francisco Examiner. And my first trip around the world in 78, it was a solo trip. And I went across the old Asia Overland Trail, which is a real adventurous trail from Istanbul to threading the Khyber Pass and slipping down into India and Sri Lanka and Bangkok. Again, I lost my train of thought. What are we talking
And we're talking about radio traveling adventure, and you said you were at radio for 333,
Right.
so you're half of 666, so you're nearly a devil, but not quite.
Not quite. So I got back, and it cost me $3,300 to go around the world. And when I added up my checks from all these newspapers, it was $3,600. I'd actually made a profit. So that really helped my confidence as a writer as well. And then while I was doing that around the world trip, I discovered anthropological collecting for museums. I stumbled on a devil dance cult in Sri Lanka. The people there believe that diseases and illnesses are caused by demon possession, and to be cured you have to undergo an all-night, very dramatic exorcism with these wild dancers with masks and flash powder hitting torches, creating huge explosions, incredibly dramatic. And when I saw that, and I just stumbled onto it. And when I discovered that, I thought, boy, if I collect all these masks and all this ceremonial paraphernalia with my background is doing documentaries at CFQC and writing, because I'd have to write the documentation, there's just no way a museum somewhere wouldn't buy the stuff. So I spent a month and a half rummaging around the jungle in Sri Lanka, put together about 125-piece collection. I sent a set of slides to the Smithsonian Institution. In Washington, I sent another set of slides to UBC's Museum of Anthropology. UBC bought it. I got a call a month later from William Truesdale in Washington. Do you still have that collection? I said, well, no, I sold it to UBC. And then for one of the first times in my life, I was thinking fast. I said, but if there's anybody who can get you another one, you're talking to him. I can go back. And there's a pause on the phone. He said, well, that's a good idea. So they sent me a contract that I joked was as thick as a phone book, but it wasn't quite as thick. And they sent me half the money, $6,000. And I went back. And that launched my anthropological career, collecting all over Southeast Asia, anthropological ethnographic collections from museums all over the world. And that adventurous background gave me the background for my adventure character named Lee Rivers, who's appeared in 2 books, including the first book, which was Bantam in New York bought it, and it subsequently appeared as the Bangkok collection, then Thai Gold, and it's been now into 4 different editions, and even a third name, Nepal Gold, where it's still on sale after 32 years. So I was on my way.
You were on your way. Now, you came back from that first travel writing trip to sit down. Now, did you use a typewriter back then to write your first book?
I sure did.
Do you still have it?
The original one, do I have? Yes and no. Like, I've had a couple of typewriters, but I've still got my Selectric upstairs. But one of the best jobs I had was working at the order desk at Intercontinental Packers in Saskatoon when I was 18, 19, and 20. And I took orders off the phone, and I got my typing speed up to a blur. Oh, and by the way, typing, back in high school, they didn't teach typing. But I saw our reverend at the United Church typing, clattering away one of those great big industrial Remingtons. Remember those? They weighed about 5,000 pounds. And I was so fascinated with that I got my aunt's book on how to learn how to type. And I learned how to type properly with all 9 fingers. It's not 10. You don't use 10 fingers. So I was the only kid in school who typed. So I got to type the school paper and get out of French class.
Well, a true Canadian, anything to get out of French class.
Typing is essential to be a writer.
Right.
You know.
And do you, just as an aside, this is Talking Books and Writing and Stuff with Jason Schoonover. So we're talking about books, his own, lots of them, writing and stuff. There's apparently, the kids nowadays have this new thing. They're called typecasters, where lo and behold, they have apparently discovered typewriters, and they go, wow, you can put the paper in, click, 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 and then it's right there. Yeah. You don't have to go through a print. And I saw a documentary the other night about a shop in California called California Typist. It's in San Francisco area. It still repairs typewriters.
Right,
so
good.
You always have a place to go.
Good.
As an aside. Your first book, I'll call it Thai Gold, took you a year to write?
It took 10 and a half months over 2 years.
Did you have a routine at the time?
I did. I started out writing in on an island called Koh Samet in Thailand. Was paying $1 a day for a beach hut right on the beach. And I was living for about $300 a month. And my schedule then, as it is now, and I'm a lunch bucket, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
And that's a secret for you kids out there who want to be writers. You have to put your butt in the chair and do the work.
Yeah, well, you do, but I don't call it work. Like, right. It's not work at all. And I see these writers, I read about them, they say how terrible and difficult it is, and they pull their hair out in this anguish, and I think, what the hell are they doing in this business? They should be out selling shoes or something they'd enjoy. When I've got a blank sheet of paper in front of me, I'm excited to know what's going to appear there, as excited as I hope the reader is. And sometimes I'll be writing away and one of my characters will say something that's just so outlandish and funny that I'll sit back, because I'm as surprised as anybody. I'll laugh my head off, and that's great, because I know if I'm laughing, I know my reader's going to be laughing too.
And I think that's something the people, maybe the public or even lowly scribes such as myself, don't quite understand, is that this stuff comes out of somewhere else over which you have no control. Absolutely.
Like, I don't take credit for it outside of having that latent talent and then developing it. But the best example is sometimes when I'm writing, because I don't know where the book is going. I know what the ending is. I know where it's going to end. But along the way, I might get myself into such a tangle. I think, how the hell am I going to... I got my characters into such a screw up here. I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And I'll beat my brow, and one of those few times where writing isn't a pleasure. I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this. Then I'll go to bed. Then I'll sleep. And in the morning, magically, the clear, simple answer will be there. And that's the subconscious helping you along. In fact, really doing all the work.
So if you have a problem, sleep on it. What did you learn, perhaps the hard way, about the professional writing business?
Oh boy, the business end. The business end. When I was trying to sell Thai gold by myself, I had 54 rejections. And then finally I wrote Jack McClelland, who was Canada's preeminent publisher then. He had just sold his company and became an agent. And I wrote him and I said, like, I'm having all this trouble. I'm using English writing. I'm spelling color O-R and not O-U-R. My protagonist is American. I'm targeting this big market. Here's what I'm doing. And I just can't get any interest. And Jack wrote back and he said, basically, your letter really, really interested me. I'm going to take you on. And Jack did. That was his first client. And suddenly, all those doors, which were closed like big barn doors and locked with padlocks all the way around, were opening like that. In other words, you have to have an agent, and hopefully a good agent. I've got an agent right now in the States. She's very good. She's selling my most recent book. And so I'm waiting to hear on that. You got to have an agent, folks.
You got to have an agent. And we're with Jason Schoonover. He has a new book. We'll call it In the Works. Well, he's worked on it. He won't tell us what it's about because he's secretive that way. And the travel and the writing with Jason Schoonover here on Talking Books and Writing and Stuff, they seem to go hand in hand. Is there any place in the world you have not visited?
Oh boy, there's a lot. I've been to about 75 countries, but I tend to go back to countries that I love, like Thailand and Sri Lanka and Nepal and Cambodia and especially Turkey. I'm going back to Turkey in about a year. I'm not interested in most of Africa because it's dangerous. I've been to Nairobi, and much of South America, much of Latin America south of the Rio Grande. It's just too bloody dangerous. I hate the food, so I don't return to a lot of countries. And there's not too many that I really want to go to that I haven't been to. So Kazakhstan and that area interests me.
Now, you were traveling. Did you travel alone, and did you ever feel in physical danger at any time?
I've been around the world 4 times, solo each time. I love traveling solo. The traveling with Sue is so easy. She's wonderful to travel with. I've only had one experience, and I was in Rio in '86 for the carnival. I was there for about 2.5 months. And I was on a bus. It was high noon. I just exchanged some money, and knowing Rio, I stuffed most of it down into my gotch and just left about 65,000 cruzeros in my pocket as mugger's money. I got onto a crowded bus on the way back to my hotel, which is only about 3 stops away. And it was so crowded, it was standing room only. So I pushed my way towards the front of the bus, towards the middle, and I saw these 3 Flaveros, the people who live in the slum areas. 2 guys and a woman, 35 to 45, with very stern, serious looks, following me and getting on the bus and pushing forward along the aisle. So I moved to the front of the bus, and they continued all the way till they got to me. Then they surrounded me. And 2 of them had notebooks, which they covered my pockets, on the other side of me, while the 3rd one dipped my pockets. And there's rails across the top of the back of the seats, and they tried to hold me in, but I knew instantly what was happening. So I fought them off. My bus happened to stop at my bus stop just then. I got off, ran to my hotel. I saw blood running down my shirt when I got into the hotel. I thought, what the hell? Where am I cut? And I found, and they had slashed me with a razor right there.
Well, it's on the inside of his left wrist.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
wow.
They'd used the razor to slash my bag or my pockets to get at my goods. So they got my 65,000 cruzeros, which is worth about 65 cents. But that's the only time I've been in danger. And one of the reasons I love Bangkok and Southeast Asia is it's so safe. I've been in Bangkok coming back from the Foreign Correspondents Club after midnight by myself. It's dark as hell. I'm half pissed. And I feel completely confident,
Wonderful. And you mentioned you didn't like much of the food, let's say, south of the Rio Grande. And you have had some interesting gastronomical adventures, shall we say. I don't know if it goes as far as monkey brains, but what are some of the exotic dishes you have sampled?
Boy, I love trying out something new. Snake is good, turtle, crow eggs. I ate some of those, climbed up a tree in Carrot River when I was 12, and they were really good. I had crocodile, iguana is very, very nice. Balut, in the Philippines, you get that. They let the mother goose sit on the egg for about 10 days until there's a little chick inside.
Oh,
they're kind of odd. The Torito worms are really delicious, amazingly. They have a light sweetness. Bugs I like, especially walked grasshoppers. I can't remember if I've eaten rat or not, but if I get a chance, I'll certainly look forward to it.
There you go. If you want to send Jason a treat, just look him up online and say, hey, have I got a rat for you? Jason Schoonover, our guest here on Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. It's Dennis at talkingbooks.tk. One of your books I noticed is Thai Gold, which of course I have, an autographed copy, thank you very much. And in the back it mentions that you travel around, oh yeah, here it is, with his battered Samsonite suitcase. Is that true?
It was. I've still got the suitcase, but they're too heavy now because you're only allowed about 20 kilos or something. So I still travel light, but I just don't have the Samsonite anymore.
And Jason's getting ready to go on yet another adventure later this month, I'm sure. When do you head over to Thailand again?
Christmas Day. We just booked yesterday.
There you go. See? Be a writer, travel the world. Don't have to join the Navy. Mm-hmm. In front of us, we've got the Bangkok collection. Jason Schoonover. Now, is this a collection or just one story?
Oh, no, it's one story. It's an adventure thriller. It sold about 130, all 4 editions sold about 130,000 copies. They're still selling. It's a bit raunchy, but the interesting thing about it is how many people contact me and say they've read it multiple times. The record is 12 times. Oh. And I've had many readers read it, 6, 8 times. It just blows my mind. But it is very complex.
Yes,
and when you read it the first time, you miss the setups because everything is tight and explained. There's not a loose end in that book.
I know, and I've read it, and I'm on my second go through. So then we Thai Gold and Thai Gold. These are 2 different editions I see here. Yeah. And then Nepal Gold, still in the wrapper. Same thing or different?
It's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah, there's a few changes in the Asia Books version. I've corrected some things that the editor, I didn't like what the editor did.
Okay, yes, screw the editor. And we're with Jason Schoonover here on Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. I'm your genial host, the ever wisecracking newsman formerly known as Dan West. Dennis at talkingbooks.tk. Adventurous Dreams, Adventurous Lives. That was quite recent, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 07, I think, was the launch. It's nonfiction. That was an interesting book. I asked 120 famous explorers and adventurers to tell me when in their youth their dream was born, launching their remarkable lives. And it really resounded with all the members of the Explorers Club, which I belong to, and there's a lot of famous members. People that got back to me were Edmund Hillary and Don Walsh, who was the first down to the Marina Trench. Meave Leakey did the foreword. Buzz Aldrin did the front cover blurb. I'll just paraphrase it. He says, Jason Schoonover's book should be required reading in every school. Buzz Aldrin, that's pretty nice. Bertrand Piccard, Wade Davis, Les Stroud, Survivor Man, Bob Ballard, the artist, Jim Delgado, Sea Hunters, Jack Horner, Phil Curry, who I do a lot of paleontology with, leading expeditions, Don Johansson, who discovered Lucy, John Geiger, who's head of the RCGS, Royal Canadian Geographic Society. So it's a tremendous response, tremendous. One of the books, I'm proud of all of them, but that's one I'm particularly proud of.
Still available out there?
It is, yeah. It's available either on Amazon. I've got an Amazon page, and of course, jasonschoonover.com has all my books.
That's right, jasonschoonover.com. That sounds like a good place to leave our adventurous discussion today with Jason Schoonover here on Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. We want to thank Jason very much. Thanks again, of course, to our sponsors, Cheryl, Maddie, Sage, Sheila, Richard. Anyone else who wants to chip in, you can contact me at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Any final words of advice, Jason, for would-be writers?
Advice. Enjoy it.
One more question. Was there any advice you got as a beginning writer that still sticks with you?
Well, I knew instinctively you have to have a lot of perseverance in this business, and even more now that all these devices have cut into readership of books. I can't say that I had any advice. You know, the whole business came to me instinctively. As I say, since I was the age of 12, I wanted to be an author, a writer. So it's a field that I just feel very at home in. So no advice given to me.
That's right. No advice, but the best advice actually is follow your dream. Be adventurous, live a dream,
right.
Lead an adventurous life, and why not? Because what do you got to lose? Because nobody gets out of here alive.
I am.
Well, he is.
And I'm taking it all with me.
And he is, yes, and he'll tell us about it in another book called Jason Schoonover's Adventures from Beyond the Pale. Just kidding. This is Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.